Simply put, this was NXT at its finest. It was a great show from top to bottom, a top quality of wrestling on display. To a degree, it's easy to forget how some of the superstars on this show are actually rookies still. I mean, in the grand scheme of things as well. But yeah, here are my thoughts on the show, match by match by match, as I go through NXT Stand and Deliver 2026. The women's triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship with Jacy Jayne defending against Kendall Gray and Lola Vice kicked off the show, and it was fantastic. All three women showed up, showed out, and Jacy Jayne showed a little bit more than expected and or anticipated. But that's no fault of her own, and that is all I will say about that. The match itself was match of the night in my opinion. There was certainly some steep competition for that praise, but yeah, the winner of course was Lola Vice, whose championship reign is well overdue. She has worked her ass off in NXT and AAA, and yeah, over the past year she has worked probably harder than most women on the NXT roster, and maybe even most in the NXT overall. So yeah, this was very much a overdue championship win. I'm very happy with how this went. As I said, I very much enjoyed the match, and I do look forward to seeing Lola Vice as the new NXT Women's Champion. Following that, we had the match where I certainly underestimated. Yeah, we have Vanity Project defeating Los Americanos to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. And yeah, they absolutely cooked here. It was a very pleasant surprise to see some absolutely quality tag team wrestling on WWE television or WWE PLEs. But yeah, I'd probably argue this has been the best tag match we've had in WWE this year, if not over the past year. You know, there's been a real lower standard of NXT of tag team wrestling overall in WWE. This was a really good bit of fresh air to have, to see that the tag team division can be absolutely fantastic, because obviously Los Americanos wrestle on Raw and on NXT, so they can bring quality all around. So yeah, I'm hoping that even though they got the loss, that they can use this to go towards championship gold on the main roster maybe. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Vanity Project. It doesn't really click with me, so I did want Los Americanos to get the win. But they both looked very good here, the Vanity Project lads. And yeah, I feel like they're only going to get better because they are, or at least they seem very young. I don't know how old they are precisely. But yeah, they could be an NXT tag team for the future for sure. And yeah, everything about this was very, very good in my opinion, and one of the highlights of the night. Sol Ruca and Zarya was next, and it was probably the weakest match on the card in my opinion, but by no means was it a bad match. It was like a good match, but it was just the least good out of all of them, if that makes sense. But yeah, what this was really missing for me was, with it being such a personal grudge match, it was missing that element of a stipulation, a street fight, a no disqualification match, a last woman standing match, something like that, where these guys could kind of lose their shit at each other and really just have this really hard-hitting affair with the athleticism of Sol Ruca taking on the power of Zarya. But unfortunately it didn't quite work out like that, though I can see them having a rematch on NXT television maybe before WrestleMania, where Zarya will get her win back and then Sol Ruca can head nicely up to Raw or SmackDown following WrestleMania. I mean, that is assumptions. I can't imagine they're going to keep Sol Ruca in NXT for much longer, especially when she's been doing main roster stuff during last year anyway. So yeah, for me, as long as Zarya ends up winning the feud, that kind of helps her out, because you need to have her win if Sol Ruca is going to head up to the main. But yeah, I look forward to seeing. I'm really hoping that they have a rematch that does have a stipulation on it, so they can kind of get all the personal stuff out and kind of finish this feud off properly. The return of Johnny Wrestling to NXT followed this, and yeah, it was a match that certainly didn't disappoint. I genuinely was hoping that Miles was going to be able to keep up with one of the best that NXT history has to offer, and yeah, that is what he did. It was a fantastically contested matchup. Bourne once again showed why he is the future of NXT and possibly the future of WWE as a whole. Yeah, this was absolutely his best match to date. Only criticism is that Gargano lost. I personally would have had Gargano get the win here to kind of have him re-find himself in NXT, so then he continues doing NXT stuff and then can use that to start winning championships, hopefully, on SmackDown. But it seems like he's been doing both anyway. At least I'm hoping after this, Gargano will be on NXT as well as SmackDown going forward. But no, yeah, everything about this was great. What I'm hoping for is that even though he lost, it reminds him how truly great he is, and then he uses that to kind of go forward. But yeah, this was absolutely fantastic, and yeah, I've got really no complaints about this one. I'm hoping that Johnny Gargano does eventually win gold on either NXT or main roster, but yeah, I feel like Miles Bourne really showed up and showed out, just like the women did in the opener. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where his championship reign goes in the future. We saw the clash of styles and characters next as Tatum Paxley and Blake Monroe battled for the Women's North American Championship. And yeah, I don't want to say this match disappointed, because it didn't. It was a great match. Like, don't get me wrong, I thought these two used their characters within the match very, very well, especially when they had the stare-off where they were just doing crazy eyes at each other. But yeah, I kind of expected a little bit more. Like, we know for a fact that Blake Monroe is arguably one of the best women's in-ring wrestlers that we have right now. Tatum Paxley is someone who is criminally underrated by everybody as far as in-ring work goes. So yeah, I was expecting these two to probably have one of the best matches of the night. Unfortunately, it wasn't that case. A few of the matches just was better than this one, to be fair. But yeah, like, they are both two absolutely fantastic wrestlers. And yeah, maybe I overestimated, no, I suppose that's not the way you put it. I think my expectations were too high going into this, but then again, this sounds like a very negative part of the video, which it really isn't. This was a very good match. I very much enjoyed it. I'm glad that Tatum Paxley got the win. I feel like Blake Monroe would be better off in the NXT Women's Championship division, and now that Lola Vice has got the title and she's a babyface, Blake Monroe can quite easily transition to go towards that championship as a heel. So yeah, I feel like this does work out very well. I'm glad they didn't take the title off Tatum. I'm hoping that Tatum has quite a long run with the championship, especially after she had such a short reign with the NXT Women's Championship. But yeah, by no means was this a bad match. I know I've been quite negative and quite critical about this one, but this was a great match. And yeah, it just, as I said, I think I just expected or maybe even wanted too much out of this match. And finally, in the main event, Tony D'Angelo finally gets his moment, or got his moment, as he gets his top run as top dog in NXT as he wins the NXT Championship. And yeah, it's well overdue for some time. Like, some might say it's 2 or more years overdue. And yeah, like, he is one of the very few left of NXT 2.0 alumni. But yeah, the match had a bit of everything to it. It was a fun watch, in my opinion. I'm more and more convinced whenever I watch Tony D'Angelo wrestle that while he was away, I think he might have been injured or it might have just written him off TV. I think he was injured, but he seems to have improved in ring massively. I wasn't really bothered about him in ring before his return, but then the match with John Lennox at Vengeance Day, this match here, and some of the matches he's had on NXT television, he has been cooking in the ring, and he's actually become very, very good as far as like the men's division goes. Yeah, I think the interactions between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page were done very well and worked and incorporated into the match well, as far as like the comedy elements to them being allies and then foes and then allies, and then eventually in the finish of the match they were foes, but it would cost them both the match as Tony would put them through the announce table before going after Hendry for the finish. Speaking of Hendry, he kind of felt like the fourth person in the match. He took a lot of offense during this one. He didn't really have that standout part of the match, unlike Page, Saints, and Tony D'Angelo. But yeah, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like someone's got to take a lot of the offense. Unfortunately, that was the champion, but then it makes sense that why he took the pin and why he was losing the championships, because he just couldn't get over the first part of the match or something like that. I don't know, I'm just kind of making stuff as I go along. But yeah, I feel like the only real confusing part of this, and my brother pointed it out, and then I started seeing it a lot more, Hendry and Tony D'Angelo have the same finisher. They both do like a spine buster, but it kind of looks like a chokeslam. And yeah, they kind of, to be fair, Tony D'Angelo does a wicked spear. He has one of the better ones in WWE. So I feel like the spear should just be his finisher. That would just be a lot better off. But yeah, for them both to do what Hendry just calls a standing ovation, and what, I don't know what Tony calls his, but it is just a spine buster. So whether they change up how he does the spine buster, I feel like if he does one similar to how Triple H used to do, when he used to really put like momentum onto it. But yeah, the match overall was a great match. It was a awesome moment to end the show. And yeah, even though I'm not the biggest Tony D'Angelo guy, even though I am coming around to him a little bit more, yeah, it was a well overdue time for him to become NXT champion. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT Stand Deliver 2026. Do put down in the comments below what you thought of the show. I am curious to see what people thought. I know that this has been getting a lot of praise online, and absolutely is the case. I thought this was probably one of the best NXT pay-per-views since probably Heatwave 24 or Heatwave last year. There was a Heatwave where they absolutely cooked throughout the card. So I mean, to be fair, both Heatwaves were very good. So maybe it was both of those. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I know that on Cage Match, people have been talking and comparing Stand and Deliver to last week's SmackDown. So that doesn't surprise me, to be fair. SmackDown was, I feel like it was better than people are giving it credit for. But, you know, we'll get into that some other time. But yeah, this was absolutely a fantastic show. NXT really showed how well they can do. Should it have been on WrestleMania weekend? I think so. I feel like this would have been a really good opportunity for NXT to make another name for itself by really competing with WrestleMania over the weekend. But, it's fine being separated. It kind of stood by itself. The idea of the pun there. But yeah, no, I very much enjoyed the show. It was great. I don't know how many times I've said that, but it really was good. But yeah, do stick around. There is a lot of stuff coming on the channel over the next few weeks because, of course, it is WrestleMania season. But first, it's AEW Dynasty. So we have Dynasty predictions coming up later on this week. There is my top 10 Dynasty matches on the day of Dynasty, and a couple of days after that will be my review. I think I'm doing it on Tuesday, the review, because the pay-per-view is on Sunday. As for WrestleMania, on the weekend of Dynasty, there is my top 10 WrestleMania main events. Then during the week, there's going to be the retrospective documentary about covering 2004. There's going to be ranking the past 25 years of WrestleManias, and my top 42 WrestleMania matches coming out, as well as predictions and reviews as usual. So do stick around, do subscribe, and yeah, we're on the way to 1k subs finally. So do subscribe, and we will appreciate it if you did try to get to that 1k number. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.